how are you feeling as we get closer to the big inauguration day and this kind of period of transition and the excitement that's been coming since Election Day?
Well, this transition it is such a busy time because I'm hiring out an entire cabinet, staffing the administration, getting ready for the inauguration, preparing legislative agendas, but it's exciting. It's exciting because now I get to actually take action on all of the things that I heard about or talked about along the campaign trail. And so it's a fun time, it's a busy time, but it's an exciting time.
And for you, you're no stranger to making historic moments, especially first woman in the 7th District as a congressional representative and now the first female governor. For you and your 3 daughters, what kind of conversations has this inspired over the last few weeks?
It's interesting because I think in hearing my daughters tell it, in hearing my daughters even sort of recount things their friends are saying, everybody's just excited about into the future what it means for other people, right? Once it's normal, once it's something that here in Virginia, oh yeah, we've had a woman governor, oh yeah, you know, I was at an event and there were a bunch of teenage girls there, and one of them was saying to me, I'm so excited we're gonna have a woman governor, and then she said, and I'm gonna be president. And I said to her, okay, tell me your name so I can remember and someday I can vote for you. And so I think it's, what I have found most notable is that young girls in particular are very forthcoming with me when I have the occasion to meet them about the big dreams that they might have and the things they might want to do. And I think that's the exciting part, is that when somebody sees someone do something for the first time, it kind of makes them think about all the things they might want to do. And so that's the exciting bit, is not just in the, who else might be the next governor, but, who might think, okay, I can do something, whether it's, whether it's in performing arts or whether it's in medicine, right? Who's going to dream big because they think you can break barriers.
Mm-hmm. The inspiration of it all, really.
Yeah, it's fun.
I do want to talk about that breaking news that happened on Friday with the University of Virginia selecting their president for the university. I know you had put out your calls to say to the board, we want to pause this search. You were asking them to do that. I know there's still 5 vacancies on the Board of Visitors there. What is your reaction to them making that decision?
I think it's unfortunate, frankly. And going back to the letter that I sent to the board back in November, it was not just a request that they slow their search, but also a commitment from me that I would move quickly in appointing new board members so that the board would be at full complement, so that the board would be legally compliant with Virginia law. Because I think it's extraordinarily important that when a board is undertaking the most consequential of choices as it relates to university governance, and that would be the appointment of a new president, that they would have a full board, that they would remove any area for doubt or for worry that might exist in any of the university communities. And, unfortunately, their decision to move forward, when ultimately their candidate was already part of the university community, I think it's an unfortunate choice. And unfortunately, I think it's one that creates different challenges now for the incoming president. If they had wanted to set him up for success, allowing him to get a vote from a full board without any shadow of whether the board has the authority to make these types of choices, I think would have been beneficial, certainly to the individual chosen, in this case, Dean Beardsley, but also to the larger UVA community's trust in the process.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like the legitimacy, which you called out in that letter earlier this fall, do you think that's in question now, and do you want them to reverse this decision?
So I don't think the governor of Virginia, governor-elect of Virginia, should ever be making decisions about who the president is or isn't. What has always been my priority is that we have boards that are working in the best interest of the university and university constituencies, whether it's students, whether it's professors, whether it's community members, or, for our public universities, the greater Commonwealth that sees so much benefit and makes investments in our public universities. And so, here I think it's unfortunate that they have, I think, created some hurdles for the incoming president because of their choice to move forward. And so I remain committed to making my appointments as soon as I am sworn in. I look forward to speaking with the incoming president, and I think it's deeply unfortunate that the board chose to act in this way, because I think it creates real challenges for whoever they would have appointed as president, and in this case, someone from within the university community even.
Mm-hmm. Your team was very excited about announcing your plans last
Yes.
Thursday. Affordability has been a key theme throughout your campaign and now through this transition. When we look at some of the proposals you have created, what do you think is going to make the most impact to Virginians at the start to be able to have them keep money in their own pockets?
Well, I am focused on our Affordable Virginia agenda because everywhere I go and everywhere I traveled across the Commonwealth, issues of affordability are either front of mind or a constant sort of back of mind worry. And we need to increase housing supply in Virginia. Now, that's not going to be an immediate impact, but it will matter in the long term. We need to lower costs in energy, and we need to contend with real impacts in healthcare. And so in each of those three portions of our Affordable Virginia agenda, we have some legislation that will take a few years to feel, and we have some legislation that, as it moves forward, it will have more immediate impact. Because of the chaos we're seeing on Capitol Hill, as an example, we know that many people are going to lose the federal supports for their health insurance. And so we are looking and planning to create an affordability fund in order to ensure that those most likely to fall off of insurance, frankly, those who are by the numbers younger, and healthier, that they will opt out of carrying insurance. And so in creating this affordability fund and in ensuring some supports for them to be able to be a part of the healthcare market, that has impact certainly on those that can retain and keep their health insurance coverage, but it actually is good for all of us when younger, healthier people are part of that insurance market. And so our goal in getting that up and started quickly is to try and create a counterweight to the chaos we're seeing at the federal level and drive down costs as quickly as we can see that happen.
And when we talk about that affordability fund, I know you've created this this idea that you want to have people to have access to this health care, but how are we going to fund the support here in Virginia for something that the federal government has been giving these subsidies for? Where is this money coming from here in the Commonwealth to be able to boost people?
That is a great question. It wouldn't be us filling the whole gap of what the federal government would be doing. And in fact, we will still move forward with this idea, even if, knock on wood, fingers crossed, the federal government actually does move on protecting the health care of so many Virginians and Americans nationwide. We are looking to pursue initial waivers to be able to leverage reinsurance funds. So those are dollars that are already there, not usable for anything else outside of the healthcare space, to capitalize this fund in order to be able to get more folks on insurance. The current plan, as we are pursuing it, does not take funds from the general fund, which is used to pay for all sorts of things across state government, but in fact would be pulling from a particular healthcare related fund where our ability to utilize those dollars are so limited, and this is a great way for us to make investments with that money.
Okay, so we already see that pot in play when
That's
it comes to the money being there. Another thing I think in particular where our region is, we have one county, Patrick County, that saw its emergency room closed back in 2017. Recently, its urgent care said it can't be serving the county anymore because it's not lucrative. And we're seeing access to health care at risk because of the future Medicaid cuts that could have future impacts on more closures across the region. How are we going to make sure that everyone has access to this critical care?
What you just laid out is an impending catastrophe within our healthcare system in Virginia and across the rest of the country. Because of the passage of H.R. 1 over the summer, we have already seen, as you mentioned, the announced closure of multiple health clinics. We know there are named hospitals that are on their way towards closure if something doesn't change. It's the changes that H.R. 1 made within Medicaid, how people are eligible. It's also changes that they made to what's called the provider tax. So that's funding that's going into hospitals. Unfortunately, so many hospital administrators and physicians and healthcare providers were ringing the alarm bells about how bad this bill was and is and will be for Virginia. And so as governor, there are many provisions that pass at the federal level that are going to just suck. Estimates are $28 billion out of Virginia's health care. That is not something that at the state level we can replace, but at the state level, and as governor, I'm going to lead an effort to endeavor to make sure that we're being a little bit more agile, a little bit more creative. There will be impact. There will be building closures. There might be departments that close. I've spoken with some hospital leaders. While they think the hospital might remain open, they're worried about potentially having to close labor and delivery and other specialized functions that are also so vital to Virginians. And so I remain hopeful, hope springs eternal, that we can get the federal government to pull back from some of the worst elements of this bill. But in the interim, I will work with hospital administrators and healthcare policy experts to try and ensure that anything we can do to save hospitals in Virginia and also to ensure care, even if we have to get creative across Virginia, particularly Southwest, is something that we're able to deliver on.
Another topic I want to talk about is that in our region, we're seeing a lot of proposals for data centers, solar farms, different types of developments. How are you going to make sure that, yes, we see this growth in industry here in the Commonwealth, but it's not the neighbors footing the bill because there are concerns about these companies pulling resources like water and electricity and making that cost go up for people who live in those areas?
Well, certainly data centers or any large energy user should be paying their fair share. And certainly, just as we think about other types of businesses that come to an area, come to a region, any businesses, including data centers, that might be welcomed anywhere in Virginia should be part of driving and building up an economy rather than pulling back from it. And I really believe and will work on ensuring that we have a statewide approach, not a mandate to any degree, but I've heard from localities that say they have brownfields, they have locations where they would like to utilize that land or that property for investments like data centers. There are other communities that don't want them as it relates to solar installations. Some places where they say we've got a great space for it. Others worry, as do I, about taking agricultural lands out of production. And so I think what is essential here is that the state is a partner with localities that are either interested in welcoming investment, whether it's data centers, whether it's solar, but also ensuring that they have best practices, because frankly speaking, there are ways that a community can get it right and truly benefit from these types of investments, and there are other ways where a business will come in and not give back in the same strong economically driving way that in some regions we've seen that benefit. And I want to ensure that any place that large investments go, the local communities are seeing that benefit.
So one of the last things I want to talk about is the marijuana retail marketplace.
Yeah.
This is clearly going to be a conversation moving into this General Assembly session. I know proposals are out there, but they haven't come across your desk yet, and that will happen after the session is kind of wrapping up. What would need to be in legislation regarding the marijuana retail marketplace to have you say, I'm on board?
So I love that question because it gets at the heart of it. So I'll speak for a second to what I think the challenges are and then what needs to be in the bill for me to sign it. The challenges are right now that we live in this gray space where there's some legality to marijuana, there's some illegality, there's a lot of questions, a lot of confusion, and that creates real problems for Virginians who might currently have the legal ability to buy it for medicinal needs, or for those who might, try to fall under the personal use. What I think is important is a consumer should always know what they are buying. And so that means strong labeling. That means understanding the strength. Just if you think about if you go and you buy a pack of beer, you know what percentage alcohol that beer is. You know what proof a liquor is. So you have an understanding of what it is that you're actually purchasing. I think that is extraordinarily important with all marijuana-related products. So it needs to be well regulated, well labeled, and the revenue needs to be part of ensuring, facilitating that regulation, and also with any new revenue stream, you get to decide where it goes. It is incredibly important to me that that new revenue stream, in addition to going towards regulation, be invested in education.
Excellent. Lastly, on day one, any executive orders we're going to be seeing or anything that you want to say about day one?
So we're building those plans out now. My priority, as it was across the campaign trail, was to really focus on affordability. So I think, a little bit of a teaser here. No one should be surprised if day one there are executive actions or directives related to affordability and ensuring that the notion and the desire to make Virginia the strongest, most affordable place for our residents is not just present within bills in the General Assembly, but in every action taken by our secretariats and a driving factor within my administration.
Excellent. Well, Governor-elect, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time today, and thank you for giving us that time. So
Thank
I know
you so much.
you're very busy. Thank you.
Absolutely.